Have you been pleased with Plaza El Segundo?
I have. I think everyone in El Segundo has been pleased with Plaza El Segundo as far as the choices that we have. They've been providing a new tax revenue source, the retail sales tax, which has not been a traditionally large part of our budget. And the last quarter, I believe they contributed about $400,000 in sales tax revenue to the city of El Segundo. So that's really good. It's important that we have a diversified revenue stream for our city, so that if one part of the economy takes a hit, not all of your, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So that's really good. They're talking about the Point, which is the next step of Plaza El Segundo, which is very high-end stores on the corner of Rosecrans and Sepulveda, right on the corner. That's going to be going into construction probably within the next 6 months or so. And that's another opportunity for us to increase that retail sales tax base.
Wow. I wanted to ask you about the Douglas Street and Nash Street. I heard that they're turning it into a two-way road again.
Yes.
Now tell us why going back and forth? I don't get it.
That's a good question. Well, Caltrans put a condition on the on-ramp to the 105 that's at Atwood Way, which is over by Boeing Aerospace, or Boeing Space and Comm. And in order for us to get that on-ramp, we had to turn Nash into a one-way street going south and Douglas a one-way street going north. And it was worth the effort, because we got the on-ramp and that helps our businesses and helps relieve traffic in our area. But it doesn't really enhance the traffic flow on the east side of town. So the city's decided that it's better to go back to two-way, especially now that we have the Douglas Street Gap Closure Project that was recently finished. So Douglas goes all the way through to Rosecrans. Now we actually have signs on Rosecrans as you're approaching Douglas. It says the 105 and it points towards the north, which relieves traffic on that congested arterial Rosecrans Boulevard. So get a bunch of those cars moving up towards the 105, which is where they want to go. A bunch of them want to go anyway. So it just makes better use of our streets. And if we can make it two-way on both streets, then it'll improve the traffic circulation on the east side of town.
Okay. Let's move over to a different section of town. Tell me about the Imperial School site and what is going on over there.
Well, our school district is taking a look at the Imperial School site to see if it's surplus property or if it should be used in a different way. And so I believe it's called a 7-Eleven committee, and that they've formed, and they're taking a look at these issues. And one of the issues they're looking at is the Imperial School site. And one of the thoughts is that that site would be ideal for a assisted/senior living facility. There's some issues that we would need to address before that got approved. One, what happens, a school issue, what happens with the county programs that are being serviced by that or being housed in that property right now. And two, on a city issue, what do the traffic patterns look like? What happens to the Challenger Little League field for our physically challenged kids that play in the Challenger division? Where would they go? Where would they play? So there are still some issues that need to be resolved, but the site's being looked at.
Okay, and when you say being looked at, does that mean the school would actually be closed down, property sold?
Well, there's no school, there's no El Segundo Unified School District offices there now, nor any classes being taught there now. So those classrooms are being used by a county program that helps the handicapped students that are serviced by a program that's actually leases that property from the El Segundo Unified School District. Okay. So, granted, I mean, these issues are in the purview of the school district, and until they come to a decision as to what they want to do, the city's really not involved. Once they do come to a decision and they've decided to go in a certain direction, then the city would absolutely like to help in any way we can and address any of these other issues that may crop up.
The last time you were on our show, we spoke at great length about assisted living, and you just brought it up when we were talking about the Imperial School site. So where are we? Are we getting any closer to having any services available to those who may need it one day?
Well, there's been a couple potential locations, but you have to thoroughly vet these issues before you bring it up before the public, because a lot of times they just don't work out for a variety of reasons. And so a couple locations fell through. They didn't even make it to to a point where you could bring it up and discuss it publicly. So we're continuing to work on it. There may be other locations that may make sense, and so I hesitate to bring it up because I don't want to sell a pipe dream. I want to vet the issues and see if is this possible, and if it is possible, all right, well then let's bring it to the public's eye and really thoroughly vet it and give everyone a chance to speak on the issue. So, but the Imperial School site is one option, and there's perhaps some other pieces of property that might be available. But as you said earlier, it takes a long time to see things through, and this is an issue that probably will take another couple of years before we see any real movement.
I think that's an issue that some people would probably love for you to keep
working
working on. So.
There's no doubt there's a need for it.
Yeah.
You can see it. There's no assisted living facility in El Segundo right now, and if you've lived your entire life in El Segundo and you want to stay here, you want to keep your family member here, you have to move them out of town, and that's not an ideal situation. So if we can encourage that kind of development in the right place at the right time, and make it work, then that would be great. And if there are some opportunities for some low-income beds in that facility, then that would be great too. And that's something that I would push very strongly for, to make sure that we're not just servicing people that can afford a very expensive assisted living situation, which is almost always expensive, but that there are a few beds that are available to those that are on a fixed income, and perhaps even living in our current senior housing facility, Park Vista. But again, we have to see how things work out.
Well, it's a noble cause. Family is huge to you, and the last time I saw you, it was the opening day ceremonies for the Little League, and I know you love baseball, and family and baseball go hand in hand. So let's talk about the field improvements, Bobby Sox Field.
The Bobby Sox field there's a challenge on that field, and that is on the first base side there is an embankment, and the embankment has eroded over time and has expanded a little bit, but it's always been a problem because you can't, on the first base side, it encroaches in the field, so if the ball hits the embankment, it's a ground rule double. If you want to warm up your pitcher and you're on the first base side, you can't warm them up on the first base side. You have to warm them up on the third base side. And so one of the opportunities was to build a retaining wall and push that embankment back so that we actually truly have a full field. And that project actually is going to start July 5th.
That's perfect, exciting.
It's a great project, and it's very exciting, and so it'll take a long time. I couldn't believe it's going to take more than a year to build a retaining wall, but to go through all the little details and make sure everything's done properly, it'll take some time. But it'll be really exciting to see a field that's 100% meets the requirements of our softball teams, and that's an exciting thing.
Absolutely. What about the bleachers and the lighting?
Well, the lighting, there's the bleachers, I believe, the last time those bleachers, they were actually given to the city, or partially given to the city by the softball groups in town. And so that's something that we have to look at as far as how their maintenance is. And then the lighting, we just replaced a bunch of lights on the fields and turned them into more efficient lights. And so I know we did that on Stevenson Field, and we actually just installed a new scoreboard there, but I believe we have to take a look at the softball field to do the same thing. So. Okay.